And we are live back. Another episode of the Hooswhere podcast. We have another amazing guest, another UVA legend on the podcast today. But first, I'm your host, Chase Minifield. And we have our co-host, Max Millian.
What's going on, guys? Coming to you for our last episode from Brooklyn. Excited to have you guys back for another great one.
For another great one, man. We got a class of 2015. Class of 2015, man. One of my good friends right here. We have Evan Baum. Baum, right?
What's up, guys? Baum.
Baum. Bam.
People all throughout college call me Bomber, so
Bomber.
all good.
Hey, that's good, man. I wanted to make sure that we put some respect on it for sure. So how you been, man? What's up?
Good, man. Summer's flying.
Summer's flying?
Hopefully I can bring up the rear here today in style.
Tell everybody your current position.
Yeah, I work at a alternative asset manager called Ares. I've been there a little under 6 years, and it's been a good ride.
You're a vice president, huh? VP? And you're a young VP. When you graduated?
2015.
2015? Oh yeah, that's young VP.
Yeah, that's
How many other
VP.
2015s is in the VP positions, man?
Not that I know of. That's
I'm
gonna
not
be
keeping
a-
tabs.
You're not keeping tabs? You also went to McIntyre, right?
That's right.
And yeah, so we got one of our great UVA alums, man, who's position. We're also on the real estate board together, right? So I'm excited to get Evan's full background and story from him, man. So let's start off with where are you from?
Grew up in North Jersey, about 45 minutes from the city. People are always like, oh, when you moved to the city, it was like coming home. Very different. Used to only come to the city for, special occasions and whatnot. It was definitely more of a suburban type feel. So that transition wasn't as smooth and seamless as people might expect.
That makes sense. Did anything from your childhood influence the career path that you ended up wanting to go down?
It probably took shape a little bit later than most. I'm the son of a doctor. My grandfather was a doctor. He had 4 kids. All 4 became doctors.
There you go.
I thought as a toddler that's the path that I'd go down. Fast forward, couldn't be doing anything more different than saving lives. But
was there growing up with your doctor background in your household? Was there a emphasis on safety?
yeah.
Yeah. You didn't have to. I know you said you played soccer.
They let us roam though. They weren't the prototypical 21st century helicopter parents, that's for sure.
That's what's up, man. So, what made you come to UVA? So, you come from Northern Jersey. Did you know anybody with UVA previously? And what made you want to go there?
Yeah, no, it's funny. North Jersey, our school sent kids to really good schools across the country, but not a lot went to UVA. I'd say most chose Michigan as the stereotypical really good public university. And I had a friend who has been an informal mentor and close family friend since I was a teenager who went to Virginia back in the 90s. And, he loved it, was really involved in the school right around the time that I was applying to colleges. And he was the one who, really told me about how awesome Virginia was and started, pushing it a little bit on me. Mm-hmm. And, after visiting the school, it's actually funny. The first time I went to Charlottesville, I was playing in a soccer tournament down in Richmond called the Jefferson Cup, which is always one of the most competitive tournaments in the Mid-Atlantic. And it was in March. It was during my junior year. We played a game. It was pouring rain. It was muddy. We lost. And the tournament got washed out. So rather than just waste the weekend, my dad, who was with me for the tournament, said, why don't we at least make a productive trip out of this and go drive through Charlottesville.
Hey.
So drove to Charlottesville in the pouring rain, walked the lawn, went into the rotunda, and just because of the weather, it wasn't exactly the best first impression.
Yeah.
But I just kind of let it go and it worked out.
They didn't know they was recruiting.
Yeah, exactly.
If they knew he was on campus, man, they would have put up the stop.
Exactly.
They would put up the stop for you. So, were there any other schools that you were thinking about, like, that you kind of made a decision between?
Yeah, no, I looked at a lot of schools. Up until probably the start of my senior year in high school, I was considering a lot of options to play soccer. But ultimately, I was a really good student and only was going to play if it meant that I'd get into a school that otherwise was more aspirational from an academic standpoint. None of those 5 or so schools worked out, and when I wanted to go to UVA, I applied, got in, and that was the choice.
That was it.
Yeah.
You said you were a standout in soccer, not just a normal player, right? You're just like, hey. You got a national championship?
National championship back in 2010.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about, right?
All tournament team.
Yeah, there you go. You know what I'm saying? That's what I like to see right there. Hey, once a winner, always a winner. Is how I see it. You know
that's right.
They can't take that away.
You start going down that path, you can't do nothing mediocre. You know what I'm saying? So you show up to UVA, and are you like you want to do comm school, or like what are you looking to kind of get into when you're scared?
Knew I wanted to do comm school. Had no idea exactly what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. And you didn't think about doing anything else as far as like you were just going to do Greek life, like all that stuff was kind of like I guess like this is how Evan's going to show up.
Yeah, no. First month of school, the thought was I was still talking to the coaches to potentially walk on the soccer team.
Okay.
And they said, why don't you try for the club team, play club, stay sharp, and we'll talk in the winter. And so,
why would they do that?
Yeah, it was a setup. So, joined the club team, played a bit that fall, about a month into school, was having a lot of fun, decided definitely was not going to walk on the team.
Yeah.
And that was the end of my soccer career right then and there.
That was it.
With the soccer, because the soccer season's like kind of crazy, especially with classes. Are you still able to like do a full comm school schedule? And soccer, would you have been able to? Is anyone on the team in it?
A few of the guys in my block were on the soccer team.
Okay.
But it's not easy.
Yeah.
And I mean, you guys know.
Well, we couldn't even do the comm school.
Right.
So that's why I was wondering. I know different sports, different schedules. I didn't know if they had like catered to having you guys actually able to work around a normal class schedule or not.
Yeah, it's funny. When I was growing up, my dad, who always put academics first, he said, "You're really good at school. You're really good at soccer. You're really good at social.
Yeah.
But you can't be the best at all 3."
Mm.
And when I was in high school, I was like, "Yeah, that's a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try all
Yeah.
3." But especially in college, I mean, playing Division I soccer in Virginia, that's a full-time job.
Because soccer team is legit. Soccer team is legit. You wasn't just trying to walk on like, saying, some little scrub team out here.
No.
Soccer team I'm pretty sure they're contending for national championships. Hey Max, Alex said stop smacking your leg. Appreciate that.
That was last.
I just heard a smack over there.
Come on, man. Last episode.
I'm
not gonna edit that. I know you're gonna edit that one. I know we can.
So how was your overall experience at UVA in general? Like, is there any standout things that you thought was very dope from your time at UVA?
Yeah, I'd say comm school and memories from my fraternity were definitely standouts.
And when you was applying for comm school, did you have any, like, were you just killing the game, straight A student type of situation first 2 years, and then you applied to comm school, they're like number one choice?
I think they had this academic honor called intermediate honors, which they gave out after 2 years to the top. I don't know if it was 10 or 20% of the class. I got that, and then everyone thinks that the comm school curriculum's easy and everyone just gets straight A's, but surprisingly, my GPA actually went down between end of my second year and graduation. But that was probably more a testament to spending time outside of the classroom.
Yeah, how was the cohorts? How are the cohorts for comm school? Are you guys pretty tight as y'all go through and like post graduation type situation?
Yeah, we're still in touch with each other all the time.
Yeah.
Not just within real estate, which is obviously my field.
Yeah.
But I still probably keep in touch with a third to half of the 40 people that were in my block.
That's awesome.
So explain what you mean by your block.
Yeah, so CommSchool at the time had, roughly 325 students,
Okay.
and they divided up into 8 40-person blocks.
Got it. Okay.
And your first semester, third year, they put you in groups of 4 or 5, and you do a semester-long project together.
That's really cool.
And my group actually got selected, I remember, at the end of my fall semester, third year, to go present to corporate sponsors up in Pittsburgh, which was a fun time. And I was recently reminiscing about it with one of my blockmates who went on that trip with me and works in real estate, and we're actually in process of trying to organize the UVA real estate ski trip for this upcoming year. That'll be the first of many, hopefully.
Yeah, that's nice. So when you got there, were you like, real estate was my path, or how did you fall into the real estate?
It's funny. Someone actually asked me that. I think it was actually last night. I was hanging out with a few real estate friends, and the CommSchool does an amazing job at creating a lot of structure around recruiting, and it's probably by design and intentional.
Mm-hmm.
They tell you all about investment banking and finance options. They tell you about consulting options, accounting options, and marketing options. And you really have to pick, or at least 10 years ago, you had to pick within those major food groups. And so I decided I wanted to start in investment banking and, apply to a number of the different banks that would come recruit at UVA. And one of the interviews I had was at Raymond James, which was, headquartered down in Tampa. I had a background in strong ties to the area. I actually, my first 2 summers when in school, I worked for the Buccaneers because I love sports. And
Were you connected with Ronde?
it was before that.
Okay.
We could jump into that in a second.
Get into a sec.
But I thought at one point I wanted to pursue a career in sports, and did a couple different things for the team after my first and second years. And then decided, Raymond James is down there, had a lot going for me down there, a lot of friends, pretty strong network. And I had my first interview, which was a phone interview. And most of the investment banking internships are generalist type interview processes. So I remember I was sitting in my third year house at 1310 Wordland, which was an absolute dump. I was living with 10 fraternity brothers. There was a homeless guy that lived there the summer leading up to that year. When I moved in, my mother came down with me and she was appalled. But I was sitting there on my futon that was probably passed down for I don't know how many years before I got it. And the first question I got was, so why do you want to work in real estate investment banking? And I can't remember for sure, but I think my response was, to be completely honest with you, I wasn't aware that this was a real estate, interview. And I said, but I like real estate for the following reasons. I'm studying it in the undergraduate business school here in Virginia. I like that it's a really entrepreneurial type of sector. You look at a lot of the most successful real estate investors, whether it be in New York or nationally, and they, started from scratch. And I think that really resonated with me. And that's, kind of how it all started. I went down there that summer, and it was a great experience. I was commuting to the office, about 40 to 45 minutes each way. And ultimately, for a variety of reasons, I wanted to, I got a return offer, but I wanted to pivot and start my career in New York. after having that experience, what I realized was New York's the finance capital of the world, and I could always go back to Tampa later in life. And so I ultimately cold emailed a senior professional at RBC, which is the Royal Bank of Canada. He was a UVA grad, and I told him about my summer internship, but that I wanted to pivot to New York. He set me up with an interview, and that's where I started full time.
UVA network, huh?
That's right. I've had 3 jobs since graduating. In all 3, I didn't get them through traditional recruiters, headhunters. They were all based on me proactively reaching out to UVA alums to try and get to know them personally.
UVA alum, each spot.
All 3.
So is there, in the comm school, is there like, when you graduate, they're like, hey, here's a network of people. Do you think something like that would be beneficial, or what is that network like? And I ask because, playing sports, we're also, one of their recruiting strategies, like, well, UVA also your network, and once you graduate, you're like, I don't know any way to get working in this network field. So, for you guys, is there something set up for you guys, or it's just, you just like looked up, hey, UVA alums, and then different sectors?
They had a portal.
Okay.
And I used the portal to get in touch with this guy, Scott Merkel, at RBC, who ended up hiring me there. And then I think I used LinkedIn to get my second job at Allianz Real Estate. And then for Aries, I actually was referred by a dear friend now who was the RA on the opposite side of my first year at Hall.
No way.
And so we worked together for a long time at Aries, and it's funny how it all works out that way.
Yeah.
So when I chat with younger people that are looking for jobs, I say leverage that UVA network and don't be afraid to just shoot your shot, because it worked for me.
Sounds like you Steph Curry with the shot.
I started watching his documentary last night. I fell asleep, but he's got a good shot.
He got a good shot right there. His NBA 2K shot, 3-point shot is 99. So I don't know if there's anybody better. But let's talk about your job history before your current job right now. What kind of was your experience that you learned once you got out there into this New York capital of the world, where now you're in the big pond with the big fish, and just give us your background of your experience right now.
Yeah, I'd say banking was a perfect transition from school to the real world in finance. You guys know how fun UVA is, and I think banking was a great way to kind of rip the Band-Aid off and start a career. You're working really long hours. You're developing a lot of technical skills. You're learning how to be a professional, which you guys probably learned a little bit earlier in college playing Division I football. Relative to the frat boy who was,
a little bit structured,
going drinking 4 days a week.
Hey, your schedule is rigorous too.
That's right. in many different ways.
Yeah, exactly.
But what I soon realized was, while I was getting really strong public markets experience and learning a lot about how to be a great financial analyst, I ultimately knew that I wanted to pivot to the buy side on the real estate side. And in order to be successful in a future role, I would need exposure to property level experience, portfolio level underwriting, and more than just real estate and REIT capital markets. So most of my peers stayed in banking for a 2 or 3 year analyst program. And my thesis at the time was, if I could kind of merge what I've learned in the year plus of banking with buy-side experience and forge my own 2 or 3 year analyst program, I would be better off and ahead of some of my peers just because I've had exposure to more things. So it was probably the spring of 2017 16 when I cold emailed, or it was LinkedIn actually.
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, another Wahoo at Allianz. He actually took probably 4 to 6 weeks to reply. He was doing an international exchange, which was a cool perk that Allianz offers. He was over in Paris working when they sent one of our French colleagues, or a future French colleague, over to New York. And we ended up FaceTime audioing. And he said, "Hey man, I'm really sorry. I'm over here in Paris, but I actually think our equity team, which is really growing quickly and putting out a lot of money, they're looking for an analyst because they don't have one. Would you be interested?" Ended up interviewing, became the only analyst on the team there. We had a team of 4. We were super close, and we had a mandate to put out a few $1 billion of equity a year. So I got to work on every deal. Part of, a sliver of what we did was invest in other private equity funds. So I was able to meet with large managers, like Ares and other more specialized managers. And this gave me the opportunity to really hone in on what I wanted to do next.
You're the analyst. They go to you for the review.
You the numbers guy.
Yeah, you the guy.
That's what I was.
Yeah, you the
So,
guy.
are you allowed? I mean, I guess it's like kind of insider trading. Like, are you allowed to invest in any of these deals that come across your table, or do you do any? Are you allowed to do anything on your own, separate from it?
We're focused primarily on our day-to-day jobs.
Okay. Yeah, gotcha.
So with your experience of being the guy to look to and go to, so I'm assuming you have some pressure on you to produce this to the partners, right?
That's right.
Like you got to come in there, you got to be buttoned out. And when they get pushback, what kind of pushback are they looking at? Because I'm sure you're by the book pretty much as far as what you're looking at and giving it to them straight. Like this is the data. You know what I'm saying? If somebody wants to, do they mostly go with you in your thought process, or are they pushing back a lot and being like, "Hey, I like this opportunity because I like this opportunity, and I don't care what you want to say."
That's a good question. I'd say, part of the benefit of working at a place for now almost 6 years is you grow up in that business.
Yeah.
So I've spent, roughly 2/3 of my career now at Ares and working for a lot of the same people because we don't have a lot of turnover.
Yeah.
And you, through that experience, tend to know what you should be doing.
Yeah.
So there are surprises where there's healthy debate over things that you might think were a slam dunk for reasons that you may not have thought of. But you generally, at this point in the game, push what you think is worth pushing.
Makes sense. It makes sense. So have you ever had any stories where you like showed up and like, man, it's slam dunk. It's slam dunk. I know I'm knocking this one out of the park, and this is the best deal I can bring you, and they're like, nah, we're good.
No examples come to mind, but it's a tough environment out there.
It's
now.
a tough environment.
Part of the benefit of being a large manager with a lot of different pools of capital and flexibility is you are shown a lot of different opportunities. And I'd say, while there are a lot of third-party resources to get smart on what's going on in the real estate sector and more macro, I'd say we benefit from seeing a lot because of our scale.
That makes sense.
So you worked through COVID, right?
I did.
COVID in New York, I'm sure, was crazy. Coming out of it, now that we're coming out of it, have you seen, are we going back towards like pre-COVID deals in the market, or did COVID shift everything to a whole new sector that you guys were just focused on, even as we're coming out of it?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'd say it's a different market.
Okay.
I'd say COVID's definitely in the rear view, but the macro situation has really changed pretty rapidly over the course of the last 15 months, which creates a lot of new opportunities.
What asset classes, this is personally for you, what asset classes If somebody like myself and Max, we're looking for like some side deals type situation, what asset classes do you think are kind of the same? I've always heard that storage units is kind of the way to go. What have you heard about storage units?
Pass.
Fair enough.
Understood.
Fair
Oh man. So from that situation,
Trade secrets. Come on, man.
Yeah.
As a stockbroker, what do you invest? What you coming invested in today?
I was going to some personal opinions.
Okay.
No, I would say more broadly,
Yeah.
we tend to try and look for asset types that benefit from supply and demand imbalance.
Gotcha. That makes sense. That's a great answer.
That is.
That's a great answer. We got media
That's a
training.
VP answer right there.
So are you doing any? Do you do anything? I know you said Max kind of asked you about this a little bit, but you don't do nothing like privately.
Not really allowed.
Yeah, that makes sense from that perspective. We'll get into kind of the cool things that I think is kind of dope from your perspective. Like you were just recently at the NFL Hall of Fame induction ceremony, and I've never been there. I don't never plan on being there.
You didn't play long enough.
I think you got enough years under your belt.
They got lucky. Ronde got lucky. I could have took a spot. You know what I'm saying? Got a couple knee injuries.
A lot of people tried to take his
They might have
spot.
slept out the back end. But shout out to Ronde. But so essentially, you know, my dad, we got a rule where we like, you know, we don't play in the Super Bowl, we don't go to the Super Bowl. We're not inducted into the Hall of Fame, we don't go to the Hall of Fame. So you're gonna have to speak from the perspective of, you know, something that, you know, we don't get to experience, or at least I'm not gonna get to experience. So how was that experience, and how did you get to know one of the UVA greats?
Yeah, so taking a step back there, one of my good buddies growing up, his dad was a sports marketing agent, and you know he had a number of pretty prominent clients: Lawrence Taylor, Tiki Barber, Ronde Barber, Richard Jefferson, amongst others. And so, you know, I remember we became friends probably right around kindergarten. Every year his birthday party was, you know, either at Giants game or somewhere cool and sports related.
Yeah.
And, you know, we touched on it earlier, but I was playing competitive soccer and
Not just competitive, national champion.
Championship soccer.
Yeah. It's levels.
And, you know, I think it was spring break when I was in middle school, and my buddy's mother called my mother and said, you know, what's Evan doing for the week off? And she said, well, you know, soccer and not much else. And she said, what do you want to go fly down to Tampa and spend the week with the Barbers? And my mom asked, and I said, expletive, yes.
Yeah.
And we went down there, and you know, at the time I was 12, and I didn't know what to expect, right? But you know, Ronde and his wife Claudia, their daughters Emil and Justice were, I think, 3 and 2 at the time, so you know they were very young parents.
Yeah.
And here they are taking on these 2 middle school age knuckleheads for the week. And I'm like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
And you know, they like planned out an awesome week. We went to Busch Gardens for a day. Ronde, my friend Max, and I, you know, we just cut every line. We, you know, kicked the soccer ball like going through the park. We did like one of those safaris at the amusement park. Another day, the Yankees were in town. I'm a diehard Yankee fan, so we went on the field before the Yankee game and met a bunch of the players, and you know, it was an awesome time.
Pretty much, you kept on asking every weekend, can I go back down?
Pretty much, right? So my friend and I ended up going back a number of times, and I became really close with Ronde, Claudia, and the girls, and as I got a bit older and, you know, soccer took more of a national scale, I played a lot of tournaments down in Florida. So I play at Disney, Ronde and Claudia would come watch me. And rather than just come watch me, and he would carve out the time in the middle of the season, right? So not sure exactly how he did that. Probably had some clout with his coach at the time.
You get that.
But Evan, want to go spend a few days with us back in Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
And we just got closer and closer. And then when I wanted to, or I was thinking about going to different schools, the sales pitch came on, and
you didn't even mention that in one of your decision-making factors, right?
yeah, that's what I was alluding to.
Oh, okay, that's what you're alluding to.
And then I when I ultimately went to UVA, he would come back for board meetings.
Yeah.
We'd go to the corner and go drinking.
Yeah.
I remember we were at the Virginia until they stayed open until 4.
Mm-hmm.
Don't tell the Virginia authorities, because I know the law was 2. But I ended up living with them every summer in college, and that's obviously how I got the internships with the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
And I lived with them the summer. I was commuting to St. Pete to work at Raymond James.
Yeah.
And they're basically the closest thing I have to family that's not blood.
That's dope.
So
obviously, you get invited to the
Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame ceremony.
yeah, that was special.
Yeah, you don't get to do that all the time.
No,
When you told me that you knew, he said he knew. When he told me this, he said, I know a defensive back that went to UVA that was better than you. I was like, could you just play? Could you do free drinks or something?
Yeah.
So then he said, Ronde. I was like, oh yeah, okay, I get it to you. That's a strong.
You can let that one.
That's the only one you could have pulled out of your hat.
That's it. Yeah, no one else.
That's the only way you could have pulled out his hat, and I would have been not put up an argument with it. That was not argument. Drop the mic.
You gotta let it go.
Yeah, move on to the next
That's
topic.
fair. That's
you know
fair.
what I'm saying? So that was good right there. So no, that's awesome, man. But how was your actual time at the?
It was a special weekend. Thursday night we went to the Hall of Fame game just for quarter.
Yeah.
Preseason week 1 isn't
Who played?
exact. It was Browns Jets.
Browns Jets. Okay.
Yeah,
So Rodney in there. Rodney was out there.
Yeah, Rodgers didn't play,
Okay.
but they announced all the different enshrinees,
Oh.
and we ended up going to.
I think we have a couple UVA guys on there from both of those teams. You have
Rodney's on the Browns.
Rodney. You have the other safety, Juan Thornhill, and then you have.
He's not on the Chiefs anymore?
Nah, then you have on the Jets. You had the cornerback. The cornerback that used to be Bryce Hall.
Oh, he's on the, oh yeah.
Yeah, I think Bryce Hall. But yeah, so hey, DBU. We DBU out
That's
there.
right.
That's all three
We
DBUs.
O-line you.
Nah.
Tight end you, O-line you.
We transition.
Transition DBU now? You have skill players in there?
Yeah, man.
Oh, all right.
So no, that's awesome, bro. Anything that stood out for you? Any Hall of Famers that you met that you was like in all of?
There was a small private event on Friday night after the enshrinees got their gold jackets,
Yeah.
and there were 100 different Hall of Famers in this room, just drinking, having fun.
Did you meet anybody and you said,
Yeah.
"Oh man, that's my that I gotta remember this one. Let's get a picture." That's what it is.
There were a lot of guys. I mean, you had Emmett Smith,
Okay.
you
That's
had
cool.
Peyton,
Peyton,
Strahan was there.
Strahan.
Growing up in New York, obviously, was a fan of his.
What-
Dan Marino,
Okay.
Troy
Who's
Aikman.
your favorite player? Do you have a favorite player?
Ronde.
Oh, all right. How about you? Thought you was about to
Have to be careful
Have to be
who
careful,
I
right?
say.
Yeah, there you go.
You know, it's funny. Darrell Revis was also
That's a good one.
in Ronde's class
Yeah, that's
this
a good
year, and we were at the
But you're not a
bar.
Jets guy though.
No, but I really respect
Yeah.
what he did in New York.
Yeah.
During his peak, he was, the ultimate shutdown guy.
Ultimate.
And I went over to him with Ronde at the bar, and I said, Darrell, grew up in New Jersey, watched you a long time. You're my second favorite quarterback. And he's like, at least I'm on your list, man.
That's fair. That's fair.
That's funny, man. So for someone looking to get into your position in this field of real estate, be the guy when it comes to the knowing the numbers. What is your I guess advice or thoughts you would give them if they were at UVA now?
Yeah, I'd say it's a pretty new, like any industry, right? It's pretty nuanced. And there's a lot of different ways to start a career and get really good experience. But, looking back on what's helped me is the wide variety of experiences I've had within the field.
Mhm.
So don't try and pigeon yourself too early. try and get exposure to as many different types of, whether it be asset classes, whether it be types of transactions, types of investments, cast a pretty wide net and know enough to be dangerous about a lot of different things.
That's the quote of the day. Know enough to be dangerous.
That's right.
Yeah. You can't be out here not dangerous now. You don't know enough. You're not even worried about you. Oh, man. So what's next? What's next for you? Like, what are you trying to do? You're trying to, like, I know you're in a great position. You love everything you're doing currently. But 5 to 10 years, you're young. What does that look like?
Yeah, no, I think, the next phase of my career is I'm lucky to be at a place that has grown really rapidly.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been in a seat where I've been able to participate in a lot of the critical milestones that have helped us grow up until this point. And now it's, being in a more senior position where my responsibility and mandate is to try and grow certain pieces of the business. So that's the goal.
That's it. So let everybody know where they can reach you at, man. If somebody's trying to reach out, if they can find you or keep up with you, what's the best way to do that?
Probably LinkedIn.
LinkedIn? That's the best way. That's where you shot your shots at, right?
That's where I shot.
Yeah, you heard it right here. You're trying to shoot your shot. You know what I'm saying? For mentees or other, LinkedIn is the way to go. We got rapid fire podcast questions, man. So we do podcast rapid fires. So it's just like this or that. You choose which one you prefer better between those two things. And just first top of mind. But before I get started, Max, did you have any other questions?
I got mine out, man.
You sure?
Unless he's gonna tell me what to invest in next.
We need to start like a YouTube
Offline.
Offline. Offline. There, that's perfect.
We need to have somebody on YouTube just keep like a max question counter. Like 1, 2.
Hey,
you know what I'm saying?
Today I probably had more than I did last time.
Hey, that's not bad.
You know.
So here you go. You ready, Evan? Hotels or Airbnbs?
Hotels.
Listen to books or read books?
Read books.
Go to the movies or watch Netflix?
Netflix.
Cable or stream?
Ooh. Both.
Both. IG stories or IG posts?
What is it?
IG stories or IG posts?
Stories.
Stories. Watch the news or read the news?
Read the news.
Would you rather start a podcast or rather write a book?
Podcast.
Apple or Android?
Apple.
Detroit pizza or New York pizza?
Not even a question. New
Detroit?
York.
Okay. If you were moving, would you hire a moving company or would you help you get your friends to help you move?
Moving company.
Hey, there we go. And that is it, man. Evan, man, we appreciate you jumping on. It's a great episode. I'll let you guys next week.
Oh,
Easy
man.
money.
That was perfect.
That's great.